Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Nerd World and we're returning today's episode 2, the Battlestar Galactica series on the skin jobs. And you may remember from an earlier episode, if you've watched these episodes chronologically, I mentioned that there was there was another skin job. So before we get to the final 5, we're gonna quickly touch on the first skin job, canonically anyway, or chronologically, that we actually see, and that was probably in the title of this video, so you already know. But before I say it, please like, share, subscribe and comment down below. Tell me what you think of this video and the Battlestar Galactica, and which was your favourite skin job, human, replicant, Cylon, clone, machine, android, whatever you want to call them. I'd go with some kind of bioloid. And mention that this video is sponsored by my sponsor, Relentless Rebels, who are linked in the description below, but we'll get to them later in the video. And again, this video, now I'll mention it, is on Zoe Graystone. And for those of you that were paying attention in that final scene at the end of Caprica, she emerges as a living machine once again, or at least something akin to a living machine. So with that said, let's get into a bit of the backstory of Zoe Graystone. Zoe Graystone was a human born on the world of Caprica. She was the daughter of financial industrialist and capitalist Daniel Graystone, and also the man who was CEO of Graystone Industries, the company responsible for the development of the first cybernetic life form node, the sort of mechanical cyber-organic brain of what was going to become the Cylons. Now, the robotic body built by Graystone, although was a marvel of engineering, was not actually something seemingly overly remarkable for the human colonies. The machine itself seemed to function perfectly well. The ability of the colonials to build robotic bodies seemed to be already established, but it was the establishment, the installation and the development of basically the living brain of the machine. It was more than just AI. This was artificial sentience, as he put it. Now, Zoe was going to be the key to the development of this technology, utilizing other spare parts and bits and other technologies that existed in the world of Caprica. She was able to create a digital copy of her own mind in cyberspace. Now, when Zoe was killed, her father would discover this digital copy. He would capture it and then seemingly strip it of its personality and use it as the foundation program to stabilize the neurogenic or neurosynaptic technology that would be used to create the Cylons. Now, this resulted only initially in the creation of one functional Cylon, and he couldn't replicate it, but eventually figured out how to duplicate it and create a mass-produced army of the first Centurions, all of which were basically copies of Zoe Graystone. That was a theme of Cylon culture, as they were all Zoe. But the original U-87 was the original one, the prototype created by Zoe herself, who again was tragically killed in a bombing. But she lived on in the artificial consciousness she created in cyberspace, although not the only one of these created, which is another video. The short version of this, when her biological siblings, you want to call her, parents discovered that she was technically still alive, they looked for a way to bring their daughter back, and these two, mostly Daniel to be fair, as he was an engineer, figured out how to create, possibly with Zoe's help, again a replicant human body for her consciousness to be downloaded into, allowing for Zoe to become the first colonial produced organic Cylon. Now, we don't know what happened to this particular Cylon. She may have just lived out her life amongst the colony, may have been killed in the upcoming war. It's not clear. There are, of course, some beta canon theories and things, but as the show was sadly cancelled, we never really knew what they were going to ultimately do with the character, and which is a shame, because it would have been interesting to see. But clearly she didn't go on to be a member of the Cylon Empire, as they wouldn't have needed the final 5, who are coming up in the next videos. But before we get into anything else, Relentless Rebels, my sponsor, linked in the description below. They do Viking style jewelry. If that's something you think you might be interested in, follow the link below. Check out their website if you think there's anything there you might want to buy, and you do decide you're going to buy it. When you go to checkout, use the promo code NERD20, all in capitals, and get yourself a 20% discount. Deep breath. On all your purchases, they have free international delivery, and there you go, Relentless Rebels. Now, with that said, we're pretty much at the end of the video, as we only get a glimpse of this biomechanical Cylon. We don't really know what happens to her, and she's never seen or mentioned again. My assertion was she was either killed in the war, terminated maybe, might be the right word, deactivated, boxed, and or she simply lived out her life and died either naturally or through some other means, or possibly in the nuking of the colonies 40 years later, because we don't really know how long a Cylon replicant can live. We assume it's the same lifespan as a human, but we don't really know. And with their ability to resurrect, I mean, technically it's indefinite. But again, we don't really know. We don't know if she survived. We don't know if she was killed. We don't know if she got all the way to college. We don't know if she had the facility to resurrect, because remember, she was created entirely by humans, not by the final five who came from Earth, who brought with them the resurrection technology that originated on Cobalt, created by another race of Cylons. Now, although all Cylons seem to have the basic ability to resurrect, that in later generation, there's no evidence the early Centurions could do it. In fact, there's no evidence the later Centurions could do it. They probably had the facility, it's just the resurrection hub and those things probably wasn't geared to do it, because the Raiders could do it, so I see no reason why a Centurion couldn't. But it was basically geared for only the Raiders and the organic Cylons to resurrect. Whether she had that innate ability, as she was again human built, and didn't reasonable to assume that she didn't have all the exact same spare parts as the other Cylons that will be produced later. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. What happened to her? What's your speculation? My theory is she simply was meant to have died on the colonies at one time or another, and not made it to either the end of the Cylon War, or certainly not to the next Cylon War, if you want to call it that. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.